Hello everyone and welcome back to Sun and Fun 50th Annual here at the Lakeland International Airport, coming to you live and in the clear from the Central Florida Aerospace Academy. I'm Ben Coleman, your anchor host for the Florida Aviation Network, and we are honored to have a gentleman here that I just met him this morning for the first time. I think your name, sir, is Mr. Kelly, is that correct?
Well, Mr. Kelly was my daddy.
Okay.
I'm Larry, yeah. I've known you, what, 30 years?
We go back.
Yeah.
You have dirt. I think we have equal amount of dirt on each other.
Well, I know some things hidden in the closet. Yeah, okay. And I know you got a wonderful putter. You got a great putting.
There's a story behind that. We'll share it to you on page 2.
Very expensive story.
But Larry, welcome back. This is not your 50th year here. But
no, but I think it's my 44th or 45th. I couldn't find all the records to know exactly, but the first year I came here, I came with my brother, and we used his old beat-up motorhome out on runway 5. We had 12 warbirds here, and the whole warbird participation was 12 warbirds. Alan Preston had 3 or 4 of them here, and an old beat-up motorhome out right on the very approach end of runway 5, and that was the warbirds. What a difference it is today. What a wonderful thing they've done, with this event.
Well, and there, back in the FAA days, we would have we had a tent, like a revival tent set up with wood on the wood chips on the floor. But Larry,
and you preaching the gospel of the FAA.
Hallelujah,
front, right?
Hallelujah. But Larry, things change, and no advocate, a teacher, things that do not change remain the same. Things are not remaining the same in aviation. Things are changing. And what are we doing? And you represent, you're a fine representation of the warbird community with Panchito. And we do have some shots with the show in there throughout the interview. But beautiful machine, and I understand they take care of themselves. Is that correct?
Not quite. I've got, like John Doran is here with me, and we've got a crew down here of about 10 people of our volunteers, but we've got about 20 people as our core group that spend tremendous amounts of time. Since Christmas, we've been in the hangar probably 95% of the time of the days between Christmas and just before we came down here, left to come down, doing the annual maintenance on the airplane, changing the tires, changing another cylinder, changing a prop, all this routine stuff that you got to do. And the expenses is what's becoming phenomenal. Good golly, $21,000 just to put 3 new tires on it this year. So
that's not pocket change.
Well, no, but some of the programs we do is what covers the cost of that. Sure. The living history flight exemption rides and our flight school, our B-25 flight school. So that's what covers our costs, so that we can turn around and do other things. Like on July 8th, we'll be doing a flyover at our expense for the big NATO summit, where all the NATO chiefs are coming to Washington for their annual summit. It's the 75th anniversary of NATO. So they didn't have any money to do it, so we said we'll do it anyway. So we're doing a flyover. They're all bringing wounded warriors from their particular countries. All the NATO allies are bringing veterans, wounded veterans, to a memorial service that can be done at Arlington Cemetery in the amphitheater there. And, we're putting together a flyby at our own expense. So we do that. The other stuff we do so that we can do those kind of things because they're the right things to do.
Larry, you mentioned flight school, and would you mind sharing just a little bit about what that involves, what it entails?
Well, the B-25 is a limited category airplane, and as part of a limited category airworthiness certificate, you cannot take passengers or cargo for hire. I think it's the wording is actually persons or cargo for hire. So therefore, you would not be able to hire yourself out for flight training or to take passengers. So the FAA has allowance, it's called exemptions. In the exemption process, if you satisfy a lot of criteria and you set up our our training program is very much like an airline program. But actually, some of our guys, and gals that were part of the airlines and did it for the airlines set up our program. We got it approved. We got our exemption to be able to do this. Mm-hmm. So now it's become quite international. We have a student that's arriving later today that went through the programs. It's coming back over from France to participate here. 2 weeks ago, we had the Flying Bulls folks over to do their recurrency training, Frederick Handelman. And we've had other students from England, Austria, Australia, and other countries, as well as a number of students, from the U.S. Jim Tobel was the first to go through the program and get his full type rating into B-25. So, the Delaware Aviation Museum, we have this program where we can actually train people. You've got to already have a multi-engine rating, a current medical, at least a third-class medical, and a multi-engine rating to be able to be accepted into the program. So we can't do any initial stuff. We can't do any just orientation training. So if you come to us, apply for the program, we can take you through a second command rating, which is just a long weekend, or a full type rating, which takes a little over a week.
I would love to learn how to fly a B-25.
Well, you did pretty good when you flew it. As I recall, it was 3 of the best landings it saw that year was when we checked you out for second command duties.
One of these days, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But Larry, you mentioned something earlier that it's really not on our program, but 20 under 40.
Yeah, that's something that's really important to me and to a lot of people in Warbirds.
What does that mean?
Well, 20 people under the age of 40 that are getting involved in Warbirds. It could be maintenance, restoration, flying, whatever. Involvement is involvement. In helping to keep them flying, helping keeping the memories of their veterans going, and sort of drinking the Kool-Aid, the Warbird Kool-Aid. The National Warbird Operators Conference started this program a number of years ago. Then it sort of sat by the wayside for several years, but now Pete DeLisio has taken it on and revived it. And the National Warbird Operators Conference has a website that you can go to, download an application, and make your recommendation. And these people receive a recognition at the next Warbird Operators Conference.
Wow. That's encouraging because as I also mentioned earlier, I'm a little concerned about what type of pipeline we have to keep supplying both people, energy, funds, because some of these parts you just don't find right.
No, there's less and less overhaulers doing engines. Yeah. There's less and less. One big problem right now is finding someone to do the 5-year AD, the 60-month AD on the Hamilton Standard hydromatic propellers.
Yeah.
There's nowhere near as many shops that will still do that AD. So as an IA, I'm hoping to get the training to be able to do it myself before my next one comes up due. But getting parts getting tighter and tighter. Shops doing engines and other accessory overhauls is getting tight, but there's still a lot of people out there that's dedicated to keeping it going. Carl Scholl and Tony Rissman are great examples of that. They own the type certificate for B-25. They have a huge inventory of parts for that and for other aircraft. And then it's people like Mike Nixon out there just applying the highest of standards, and Anderson Aeromotive, et cetera, in doing engine overhauls. Carl and Tony down at AeroTrader doing engine overhauls. So there's still some real dedicated overhaulers and suppliers.
Well, Larry, back me up on this, because people ask me from time to time, because they know I kind of run in the circle in the background, but what do I do, what can I do to get involved with the Warbird community? It says, well,
fine.
Number one, I said, you just started the right way. You're asking. But now you got to commit, you got to dedicate some time, get with somebody like a mentor, and get with somebody to just kind of take you under their wing and get involved. Don't just say you're going to show up Saturday morning at 9 o'clock and don't show. Or worse,
that's the first way. That's the first way to be sure you're ushered out the door. Is undependability, because we have deadlines that we have to meet, and all of us are operating with volunteers. But if somebody wants to get involved, find a Warbird owner, or most likely that's going to be a museum or a not-for-profit that's operating their airplanes, like us at the Delaware Aviation Museum, and just go knock on the door and say, hey, I'm here, I love what you're doing, and I want to get involved. for instance, we've got one fellow that's involved with us who comes in and sweeps the floor and cleans the toilets and hauls the trash out because he understands he can't figure out which end of a screwdriver to handle on it. And he was a president of a very large defense contractor when he was in real life. So, but he comes in and does what he can because he believes in what we're doing. And we have a lot of those type people, that's there, and they're the ones that's dedicated. That comes in, like we found a crack in the dome of the gun turret here just recently, just a little over a week ago. We had to get that fixed. That's a no-fly item. That's a grounding item, and we got it fixed. But we had 4 guys coming in day and night right through Easter holiday, and got it done.
Did you do a repair on it, or did you have to?
We did a repair. There are no replacements. There are no replacements.
So you really, honestly, did have to do the stop
It was
drill,
repair
wire,
or remove the turret.
Good. Wow, Larry. And again, the dedication that it takes is just unsurmountable. But how about the return? I mean, I watch you on the ramp, and I can see you when you have, like, particularly a little kid run up, and some folks will say, "Hey, stay away from the airplane. Don't touch it." Not Larry Kelly. He said, let me show you.
Well, what stimulated me in aviation was my uncle had a little Taylorcraft, and he let me help him restore it. And that's what really got my pump primed, I guess you'd say. But it's very interesting you bring that up. At Doolittle Raider reunion in 2010, there was a couple came out with their 2 young boys, 9 and 11 years old. No, they were 7 and 9 years old. 7 and 9 years old, and the parents had started asking some questions. They did, and they had all the answers. I said, well, "This is cool." We took them out, put them up in the airplane, took them for a flight, and now the oldest of the 2 is finishing up in Embry-Riddle, and his dad and he both says it's all because of that little spark that day back in Urbana, Ohio. That's what got them started, and so that's where they're.
It kind of chokes you up.
Well, somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it.
Is Jimmy with us here today?
Jimmy's with us, yes. In spirit, we're following through on that commitment to help keep the memory of the boys alive.
We're talking about Mr. Doolittle.
Yeah, Jimmy Doolittle. As y'all know, I've been the caretaker of his wristwatch now for a year and a half. You got to wear it last year.
I did, and it was a surreal moment when something that's historic and had such an impact on the world.
Well, when he passed it to Don Penny, who then later passed it to me, the commitment was use this to keep the memory of my boys alive. Don't let it go to a museum. They'll put it in a box and nobody will ever see it. And then you pass it to the next generation to keep the memory. So my territory is I have sometimes find the next caretaker that's going to take care of this wristwatch because that's an important piece of history. The wristwatch that Jimmy Doolittle wore from 1939 until well after World War II.
Well, let's see where I am when you get to that retirement age, and if I'm still kicking, I'd like to apply.
All right.
Tell us about the Warbird website.
The Warbird Operators Conference, or
no? We're talking about the air shows.
Why
do people go to air shows?
Oh,
Larry?
I see. Yeah.
We're having an air show here today.
You and I were talking about this a little earlier. Why do people go to air shows? Okay. Well, the International Council of Air Shows, for the last 20 years, has been doing spectator surveys, exit surveys of people who attended air shows. And many questions are asked, along with median income and all this kind of stuff for the demographics. But more importantly, why do people attend air shows? Why do people come to Sun and Fun? Why do people go to an air show in your local community or your whatever? Number one, you expect the Thunderbirds, the Blue Angels, the jet demo teams, of course. Number two, the flying military demos, the A-10 demo, the F-16 demo, the F-22 demo, the F-35 demo. Number 2 reason. And almost at the same priority level for the last 20 consistent years has been the flying warbirds. The warbirds. Because people see the warbirds as their connection to their grandparents, their parents, their uncles. What did Grandpa do during the war? My grandpa flew this, my grandpa did that, my grandpa worked on these, my grandmama helped build them. We had a lady one time who worked in the North American plant, a tiny little lady came out, she'd worked in North American plant bucking rivets. She'd get inside the wing and hold a bucking bar against, you know what bucking rivets is. You hold it, bucking rivets, and she did that, all throughout the war, North American plant. So we had her come out, bring her whole family. We got all on top of the wing, and we had a big party for her because she probably bucked rivets building that wing that she was standing on that day, just I guess about 6 years ago.
How was her hearing?
She had two big, large hearing aids. Yeah, you can imagine bucking rivets is a very loud.
Yeah, I don't care how much hearing protection you have inside of a wing with somebody driving a 3-pound a 3X rivet gun on you.
Yep.
I don't know. Larry, what can we expect? Is Panchito? She's gonna be flying.
Oh yeah, we fly a solo demo on Wednesday. We fly a solo demo. There's a great picture there with the pyro going off under the wing. You can see the red reflection there. But we'll be flying Wednesday and Friday a solo demo, and then we'll fly in the Warbird show. And I'm not sure what the schedule is on that. Probably Friday and Saturday.
Well, I tell you, we are going to be watching you closely, and I've got to admit, very few people put their money where their mouth is.
Well, there's no money left; it's just mouth.
but Larry has given graciously his time, and back when we were doing some promos for Florida Aviation Network, gave us a nice arrival video. We still use that to this day. Out of the front.
I remember that. We launched out of Kissimmee, flew over here with GoPro cameras mounted in the front of the airplane.
And it's time and money well spent, because it's a passion for you, and it's also energy. I think it keeps you young, Larry.
Well, I've always tried to help stimulate getting young people involved in aviation, and the Aerospace Center for Excellence and what you all are doing here to get young people into aviation-related careers is something I have believed strongly in for a long time. So, there's people that just talk it, and there's people who try to do it. So I just try to support it best way I can. We again will be auctioning off a ride, Thursday night. I think we've raised around $30,000 to go into the Aerospace Center, through that every year.
Great.
So. This is important for me to be here and support what you all are doing here.
And Larry, our youth in aviation these days, and it's one thing that they'll be on this, and But there's a time and a place for this. It will help you with technology, but get out, get to the airport, go hang on a fence, and chances are somebody's going to see you hanging on a fence. Say, hey kid.
Yep, I have done that.
Yeah.
Invited them to come in, and next thing you know, they're deeply involved. And then next thing you know, we're showing them how to adjust the timing on an R2600 with an SF14LN3 Bendix Magneto. And because they don't teach that in A&P school anymore.
No, they don't.
So, we do hands-on training right there with us. We're out there overhauling the brakes. Get in there, show them how to do it.
Get your
a B25 brake is a very unique brake.
Well, I'll always remember my old buddy Tom Riley when we were out flying the Killer Bee. Every time you hit the brakes, $25.
$25. Right.
$25. And it didn't take you long, because he said he had me put a $100 bill up on.
He did me too.
Yeah.
I bought dinner for his whole crew several nights.
But it was, what a fascinating industry, and it's. I'm still encouraged, and someday when I figure out what I want to do when I grow up, I might wind up being a.
Ben, you and I will never grow up. We will be the lost boys that'll never grow up. We'll be the Peter Pans of aviation.
Shot by a jealous husband. I didn't say that, did I? I guess I did. Oh well, we can edit that out, guys. But it is all fun, and I tell you, there's folks here in this school that want to be in aviation, and I am going to try my damnedest to identify them and push them.
Well,
it's really easy to say, yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that, but what are you doing to make that happen?
Yeah, and on Wednesday we've got a group of school teachers coming out to the airplane. I got some scout groups. I don't know exactly what time they're coming. They're supposed to send me a text later today. I got some scout groups that are coming out. They're supposed to come to the airplane so we can do tours. And not just a tour of airplanes, hey, this is a cool airplane, but talk about the history. Talk about the history of the young men that climbed up this step. You're climbing this stair, There's a lot of young men climbed up those stairs and didn't climb out. And their commanding officers are writing letters home to their parents and girlfriends and wives. So think about that.
Larry, we're going to close this out a little different. I'm going to have Obie too just go in a conniption fit back there. But can camera 3 push in tight on Jimmy Doolittle's watch? You can leave it on.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. He's going to push in tight. There we go. Oh, what a shot! Got Larry's name right over it. But that was off the wrist of Mr. Jimmy Doolittle.
Yeah, it's a Longines hour angle watch created by Charles Lindbergh. This particular watch, Longines has the sales records of every watch they've ever made. Mm-hmm. This particular watch was sold on December 14th, 1939, which happened to be Jimmy Doolittle's birthday.
Wow.
That was the day his mother-in-law bought the watch and gave it to him as a gift.
Mm-hmm. You just saw it live here on the set, Florida Aviation Network. Larry, we're going to be out there on the ramp.
Come see us, Ben.
Putting some fingernails prints on that beautiful airplane. And fingerprints and nose prints. Thank you for joining us here on this interview. We're going to see you next interview, but I want to see you out on the ramp under the wing of Panchito. See you.